More than 3 billion people are about to get not just a smarter browser with a ton of AI baked in, but an agentic browser that can start performing actions on their behalf. That's because Google just announced Gemini in Chrome, the company's new foray into a smarter browser. And I think even though the rollout is going to be slow, and we're going to be talking about that on today's show, I think this is something you have to pay attention to. Even if you're not a heavy Google Chrome user, which I think most people are, or even if you're not even a super heavy AI user now, because I think that agentic browsing and AI in the browser is going to become the status quo. And if you're a knowledge worker, like so many of us, well, chances are you spend a good majority of your day in front of a browser. So we do have to rethink how we work. And we're going to be tackling that on today's show and a whole lot more. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Everyday AI. My name's Jordan Wilson. I'm the host. We do this thing every single day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, starting with the live stream, the podcast, and the free daily newsletter, helping everyday people like you and me not just learn AI, but how we can leverage it to actually grow our companies and our careers. So if that's what you're trying to do, it starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream podcast. But if you want to take it to the next level, if you want to be the smartest person in AI in your company, it happens at our website, youreverydayai.com. There, you can sign up for the free daily newsletter. We're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show, but also there's now like 620 episodes that you can go watch, listen to, read about, talking with some of the world's smartest experts on AI, all sorted by category. So make sure you go check that out. Also, we're going to have today's latest AI news in the newsletter. But let's talk about Gemini in Google Chrome, what's new, and also go over 6 easy use cases. So, on today's show, we're going to talk about what Google announced in Gemini in Chrome. There's actually a couple tiers of rollout, it looks. We're going to preview what's working well, what's maybe not or not out yet, and what will be released next. And then I'm going to give you actually my 6 favorite use cases for Gemini in Chrome. All right, so what the heck is this, right? You know, like one of the big things with Google Gemini that's so much different than something like ChatGPT or something like Claude is Gemini's everywhere, right? If you want to use ChatGPT, you go to chatgpt.com. If you want to use Gemini, it's like, well, where can't you use it? And it's almost like a good thing and sometimes a bad thing. Because, yeah, you can go to gemini.google.com or you can go to aistudio.google.com. You can go to Notebook LM and you're technically using Google Gemini in Google's AI mode and in their AI overviews. You're using Google Gemini. If you're using Google Docs, Google Workspace, you can chat with Google Gemini there. So there's so many places where you can use Google Gemini. So here's actually one more. But this one, I think in the long run, if the execution works, might be one of the more useful, right? Because I think there's so many times where a lot of us might think of going into a large language model, right? Maybe you're reading something on a website or you're in a document and you're like, oh, like I should, take this over to Google Gemini, or I should take this over to ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, et cetera. But you're like, no, it's fine. I'm in here, I'm doing the work anyways, right? So, well, what if the browser just had it baked in and you didn't have to do anything and you could just click one button? You didn't have to open a new tab or a new window, make room on your screen for it, or even just a keyboard shortcut, right? So that's what we get in Gemini in Chrome. So it is an in Chrome Gemini side window that uses the current tab's page content to answer questions and also to help you browse. There is a phased rollout. So I will say this, I'm on the Google AI Ultra plan, their highest tier plan. So I've had Gemini in Chrome for a couple of months, but what they just announced in their announcement video like 2 or 3 days ago, I don't have all those features. So I'm going to call this, there's three versions. There's the version that everyone, if you're on the highest tier, has had access to for a couple of months. There's the features that are going to, looks like they're starting to roll out now, and the rollout to paid accounts as well, or to workspace accounts is going to start in October. And then there's some features more on the agentic side that are coming at some point later. So you can almost think of this as three different versions. There's the version that's already been out. There's the version that they just announced, and this is what the new version is. And then there's some features that are going to come later down the road. And then also we're going to talk separate from the Gemini rollout inside Chrome. Just talk about some of the other use cases of using it inside Google's actual different platforms, inside Google Docs, inside YouTube. And there's actually a couple of really cool use cases that I'm just kind of stumbling on now. So we're going to go over those live as well. All right, let's do a rundown of what's important, the features, all that good stuff. So number one, no subscription required. Yes, this is why there are more than 3 billion Chrome users worldwide. I don't know, how long it's going to take to get to other countries. The first phase of the rollout is going to be to desktop users in the US. So if you're on a Mac or if you're on a Windows PC, and if you're using Google Chrome in the US, even if you're a free user, even if you don't have a paid Gemini account, it's going to be rolling out. Also, like I said, workspace availability, it will be available for workspace, which is huge because I know so many Google Gemini products don't always get released if you're using workspace for business, right? So as an example, for all my different businesses, I've always used Google Workspace. So, my work email is Gmail, and, my work spreadsheet is Google Sheets, right? So if you're like me, and if you use Google products in your organization, luckily, it seems like we won't have to wait too long to get the rollout for this, because sometimes, they make workspace users wait a little longer. The other thing I talked about is a tight integration with Google's products. So being able to work with your Google Calendar, YouTube, Maps, etc. The other one that I'm looking forward to getting my hands on is multi-page context. So being able to talk to the Gemini assistant, and if you have 3 or 10 tabs open, for it to be able to understand the context between all those different tabs. Another cool feature here is Chrome history recall, right? So just, maybe you're looking for something, like, hey, what was that? That white paper that I looked at last week from one of our competitors, and it's going to be able to bring that up, right? So it's just bringing a lot of natural language AI features to the entire browsing experience. And then what has not been rolled out yet, but Google did demo this, is the agentic capability. So it will gain agentic features to perform multi-step tasks, such as, adding items to a grocery cart and then pause before the final purchase, which is interesting because we did see Google's new agentic checkout protocol, but it looks like, at least to start with, Gemini in Chrome will not have those capabilities, even though Google is building the capability itself for the agentic web. So I would assume that eventually Google will roll that out, but they did just announce it like a week ago. So I'm guessing it's going to be a couple of months before any, major providers are using that. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of what's new. So, well, why does it matter to you? Like I said, I think this is going to be the status quo. Using AI in your browser, it's going to be like an expectation, right? It's going to be, I think, as commonplace as extensions in your browser, right? I'd say just about probably everyone that uses, Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Perplexity's common. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So many people have just extensions. I think using AI and agentic features in a browser is going to be as commonplace as that. It's not going to be, oh, I'm using, Gemini and Chrome. I'm ahead of the curve. No, it's like pretty soon, if you're not using it, it's going to be a little weird. And also you have to know, Chrome is the world's most popular browser. It's not even close. And I do think, right, there's been all this buzz about AI agents, and I've been on the record saying this many times. I think agentic browsers are actually going to have more utility and be more widely used than actual AI agents in 2025. And well, one of the reasons is, well, when you have AI that works on your machine, and especially agentic features, I think it's just so much easier for the average everyday person to go and take advantage of this. You might be thinking, wait, isn't there others out there? Yes. The agentic browser landscape has grown very, very quickly over the last few months. I do think the company out ahead, at least right now, is actually Perplexity with their Comet browser. It's extremely impressive in terms of kind of true agentic features, right? Being able to navigate websites, click on things, drop downs, carrying context from one tab to the other, doing a lot of what, an intern might do when you sit them down in front of a computer. I think Perplexity Comet is kind of ahead of the curve. Microsoft Edge has some great agentic features and AI features baked in. And then, like we're talking about today, Google Chrome. With Gemini in Chrome, and then also OpenAI's browser, which has been reported on, will reportedly be released sometime soon. I would expect this fall. Here's the thing to keep in mind, though, which is interesting. All of these, the four big players here, all based on Google Chrome's Chromium, right? Obviously not Google Chrome, but the other three are actually using Google's open source browser, Chromium. So if you're seeing something in some of these other browsers, well, you have to know that number one, that means it's possible in Google Chrome. And number two, there's a good chance it might eventually at some point come to the masses. And when I'm talking about masses, again, I'm talking about billions of people, the way that so many of us work. So, like I said, a little bit more on the rollout. It's going desktop only in the US first, making sure that so if you're wondering like, oh, do I have access yet? Well, first, update your browser, right? That's going to be the first thing that you're going to want to do. And then understand that it is a phased rollout. So it is reportedly going to consumers first. So that's, your standard Gmail account. So I would go ahead today, as you're listening to this, update your browser, see if you have access yet. If not, it should be rolling out soon. And this, like I said, you don't need the $20 a month, Google Gemini subscription or the Workspace subscription or anything like that. But on the Workspace side, it is supposed to be rolling out in early October, and workplace admins do have to enable it first. So especially for larger organizations, if you are the one in charge of that, make sure that you enable that in your admin settings. And here's the other thing that I'm excited about. It's where you work. And this is Google's connected apps. So not only can Gemini in Chrome understand the context of your pages, well, it can also, even when you're not in those pages, work with your other Google products, such as your Google Drive, your Gmail, your calendar, Docs, Drive, Keep, Tasks, Map, and YouTube. So I haven't had that available on the Gemini in Chrome on my Ultra plan yet, so I haven't been able to test that, but I am looking forward to that. So a couple useful examples, and we're going to be going over actual demos here in a minute. Summarizing your Gmail, adding tasks, creating calendar events without having to pull up your calendar, right? Pulling context from a map or a YouTube video without having to watch it, right? So pretty great, I think, use cases for just everyday tasks. So again, I don't think Gemini in Chrome is necessarily going to replace, Gemini.google.com or NotebookLM or, Google's AI Studio, which is one of my favorite tools to use. I think it's supposed to meet us where we're at, and it's supposed to make it easier to use what is right now the most powerful model in the world. All right, so we're going to get into some live use cases, but before we do, a quick word from our partners.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Stephen Johnson here, co-founder of Notebook LM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built Notebook LM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and Notebook LM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
All right, so let's get straight into it. It is AI at work on Wednesdays. We go to work together. So I hope that you have access to this and can follow along. But if not, I'm going to quickly show you 6 of my favorite use cases of how I've been using this so far with kind of the V1 of Gemini and Chrome that's available. Once I do get all of these other new features, I'll probably be doing another show on it because I think it will really expand the capabilities. All right, so let's dive into those use cases right now. Live stream audience, if you could do me a favor, let me know if you can see my screen. It might be a little clunkier than normal because I'm actually having to use my personal Gmail profile to go over these. So there's some certain things that are going to be a little clunky. But first things first. How do you know if you have access? Where is it, right? So if you look in the upper right-hand corner of the browser, there is now a Gemini logo. Okay. Also, at least on my computer, on my Mac, I also have that on my taskbar. So it not only lives in the browser, the actual browser window, so one little click, but also on the desktop. And then there is a keyboard shortcut that I can bring this up. So I'm going to go ahead. I have my, they call it the Omnibox is the name of it. It's kind of like a sidecar and you can move it around, which is pretty nice. But you can just click Command G at any time, and that pulls that little Omnibox up, and I can kind of move it around my screen. I know some people are going to really like that. Some people are going to hate it. I'm fine with it either way. I know a lot of people just like it kind of pinned on the sidecar position, so you can toggle it in and off, kind of like Notebook LM, right? How you can, it's like a tray and you can slide it back, back and forth. So the Gemini and Chrome is not really like that. It is just kind of this box that you can move around. Like I said, pros and cons. All right, so the first use case is something, it's not actually going to work out very well, at least on the podcast or the live stream side, because I'm not able to properly share my audio. But I will tell you what the use case is, and this is one that I do use a lot. I'll tell you if it actually is working correctly. Okay, so what's happening now is I am on our episodes page on youreverydayai.com. And on each of these pages, I mean, we got a lot of episodes. So each page, I think, has like 50 episodes. So one thing, use case number 1 is live help on any website. So yes, that's live. So the first thing that you do have to do is, well, you have to share your current page. All right, so there's going to be a button in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm going to click share current page, and then there's this almost kind of glowing animation that goes around the screen. So I know that Gemini and Chrome can see and understand. And this is the thing, we're talking multimodal here, which is great. And I'm going to have a couple other use cases, but I wanted to start with a multimodal case right away because I can talk to Gemini. So what I'm going to say here, well, you'll hear me say it, but I'll tell you what Gemini said and recommended. All right. So like I said, a ton of information on the page. Too much for me right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click the Go Live button down here and talk to Gemini. Hey, can you, I'm interested in AI and video. Can you tell me which episode on this page I should listen to? All right. Thanks. All right. So I know that you guys aren't going to be able to hear that, but there is the text transcription here. And it said the Google Live voice came on and said, if you're interested in AI and video, episode 602. So if I scroll down, let me see, episode 602. There we go. Google Vids, the new AI updates to the platform you can't afford to ignore. So Great job. So if you're ever on a page and you're feeling overwhelmed, or maybe, I mean, you can even think of personal use cases. If you're shopping for someone, right? Hey, what would, on this page where there's 1,000 toys, what would a 6-year-old niece want? Here's a couple of things about her. Give me, the 3 things on this page that might be best. So if you're ever looking at something and you're just feeling overwhelmed and you don't necessarily want to sit there and type it all out, I love this feature and it's a great use case. So just live help on any website. All right, use case number 2, something we can all relate to, summarizing emails. All right, so when I'm switching tabs now, I don't have to reshare anything. So if you, for our live stream audience, you'll see it, but on the podcast side, as you're jumping around from tab to tab, it's actually going to update. So it's seeing the correct information. All right, so now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say summarize. I'm actually going to copy and paste this so you don't have to watch me fumble around a bunch. So I'm just going to say summarize this newsletter from Everyday AI. So I just had my my newsletter up. Is this the one from today? Yeah, this is the one from this morning. I'm just saying summarize this email from Everyday AI. And you'll see here also, there's always the options on which model you want to use. I'm using 2.5 Pro, Gemini 2.5 Pro. So it's usually going to take a little bit longer. It's already done. Took about, 5 seconds there. Oh no, actually, sorry, it's still going. But I can also switch if I want to do it a little faster. I'm going to go down now. And I'm going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash. There we go. And I'm just saying summarize this newsletter. And instantly it's done. So did a really good job, quick summary of the newsletter. And I've actually got this to do some other things that I didn't think were possible. So I'm going to jump back over and I'm going to ask it to summarize an email that's actually not on screen. I actually got this to work earlier and I wasn't sure how, because I don't think these capabilities are supposed to be out yet, at least not in my account, but it actually was able to go through and access other emails, not just the one that I had on screen. So in this case, yeah, so it worked again. So I asked it to recap the Everyday AI newsletter from September 19th, which was last Friday. And then when I show the thinking, it actually shows that it's searching my inbox. So, again, once the final rollout comes out, we'll see what the capabilities actually are, but actually a little bit more than meets the surface than just summarizing whatever email is on your screen. All right, so let's go into use case number 3, and that is simplifying a long document. Okay, so now I am in Google Docs, and I have this super long document. It's 31 pages about small language model information in 2025. So nothing groundbreaking here, right? You probably all use something like this, but again, I think such an easy use case, but personalizing it for me. So I'm saying explain Phi 4, which is an open model from Microsoft, and I'm saying explain it using basketball terms. Again, one of the best things about having an AI in your browser is the ability to instantly not just summarize and synthesize information, but to make it personal for you, right? Personalized learning is great. I'm just confirming here. Okay, yeah, I'm back on 2.5 and it's done. So I'm just going to read just one part here. So it said, let's break down the concept of small language model like Phi 4 using a basketball analogy. So it says, great analogy here. It says the superstar versus the specialist, essentially saying a large language model is, a superstar, whereas a small language model excels at one thing, like a 3-point specialist. So pretty good comparison there. Yeah, and I scroll through here, it all looks accurate and correct, and it did a really good job. And the other thing is, well, this information was obviously not even on my screen, right? So a lot of people, don't understand that if you haven't used AI in a browser before, this is a very long document, right? So I could ask something about on page 30, on page 10, on page 5, and Gemini and Chrome does a really good job. All right, let's go to use case number 4. Again, tapping into more of the multimodal features here. All right, so I am on a website, sim4.com. All right, and there's a graphic here. about recurrent neural networks. And you'll see here, this is an image. It's a flat image, but I'd like to understand this in a different way. So all I'm saying is, can you explain the recurrent neural network graph in simple terms? So this is another great thing about using AI in the browser. It's not just looking at the text. It has the ability to visually understand the information as well. Um, so there we go. So it says based on the diagram in the article. So it went through the web page. It saw this diagram that I was referencing, and it did a great job of breaking down the input layer, the hidden layer or the loop, and then the output layer. So explaining an RNN or a recurrent neural network. So again, this is not, it wasn't just, looking at text and saying, okay, well, let me, rewrite this text for you. It's an image. All right. So we're already seeing Gemini and Chrome showing off multi-modalities, right? With the first one use case that we went over with the live help on any website, I was able to talk to Gemini Live, even though I know you weren't able to hear it. I heard it. I don't know why the mic doesn't pick it up even out of my speakers. Anyways, and then this one, having visual understanding and essentially computer vision of whatever's on the page, right? So even if you're working on, I don't know, designing a website, right? You could ask it about the spacing. You could ask it about the overall layout, the contrast, right? So yeah, it's much more than just, rewriting text that's on the screen. All right, two more quick ones. And these are ones that I like and ones that I think are going to save people a lot of time. So now I'm jumping over to YouTube, and I have a video from Google, one of their recent podcasts, going over some new features in Notebook LM. So all I'm saying, I said bullet point the favorite use cases shared in this Notebook LM video, because maybe I don't have 28 minutes to listen to this, but I also want to know what the people at Google are saying are their own favorite use cases. So it looks like the ones talked about here were writing screenplays, managing D&D campaigns, deepening understanding of complex documents, and creating AI-generated audio overviews. So those are the different use cases the Google team talked about in this Notebook LM podcast. So pretty cool. And then if I want to, I can go take more time and listen to it if I want, or I can just instantly get the takeaways that are important to me. This is one thing I'm using a lot. And let's be honest, there's not a super easy way in the other, large language models, aside from like Google's AI Studio, right? But to try to do something like this in ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, not really possible, at least without using like a third-party GPT. So this is a huge benefit in why working with the kind of Google ecosystem within Gemini and Chrome is actually such a big advantage. I learned so much on YouTube, right? And this is one of the ways that I can quickly and easily, leapfrog that learning is, I might see a very long video and I'm like, 80% of this is going to be fluff. I just want that 20%. Sometimes I'll watch the whole video, but sometimes I'll just get a summary, or sometimes I'll read a summary first and then watch the video. So hopefully it sinks in a little bit more. All right, our last use case, and this one is actually really, really cool. This might be more of a personal use case, but I don't know where else you can do this. And this is something, it's going to save you time. And there are business use cases for this. But number 6 is having a hyper local guide that you can talk to in natural language. All right, let's give this one a try. So I am zoomed into an area of Chicago, and I am saying, find me a deep dish pizza place in this area of the map that has good reviews and is BYOB. So you can see how this might be difficult to do if you were searching manually. I can't tell you the amount of time that I waste searching for things in Google Maps, right? Because yes, there's some things that have filters, but then other things you just got to read a bunch of reviews, right? Or look at photos. So the ability to literally, I forgot to share my screen there. Looks like I clicked off it, and that's why I couldn't see it. So again, saving so much time. Literally zoomed in on one area, finding a specific menu item at a pizza place. Not all pizza places in Chicago, contrary to popular belief, not all of them have deep dish. So it's not only being able to look at their menu and understand, but also uh, it's able to see which one of these is BYOB. And there we go. It says based on the map you're looking at, here are a couple of options, right? I've heard of this one, this Millie's Pizza in the Pan. It says located right in this area. It's often mentioned as, which is great. It's frequently mentioned as one of the best deep dish pizzas in all of Chicago. Um, there we go. And then it mentioned another one here as well. So this is such a cool use case, right? Because if you're anything like me, I'm always, whether it's a restaurant, visiting a new place, I'm always in Google Maps. Yes, there's filters, but then for so many things, you're just having to waste time looking through reviews, looking through photos, right? To be able to speak with the knowledge that is Google Maps, which is one of the most impressive pieces of technologies probably ever, right? Into in natural language to be able to gather those insights without having to click around on the map, without having 30 tabs open. I mean, come on, that's pretty impressive. Like I said, there's plenty of business use cases that you can probably pull out of this one, this kind of hyper local guide, right? Especially if you're a local service-based business to do competitive analysis, on maybe some of your competitors, right? You can zoom in on the area, maybe there's 5 competitors in your city. There's some great competitive intel that you can do now with just a single prompt that goes way beyond what's available in quote unquote normal Google Maps. All right. That was a lot. All right. I think 6 of my favorite use cases now, but I am very excited for the next iteration or the next rollout, which should be here in a week or two, and all of these new or other features that aren't fully rolled out yet. But I do hope you came to work, AI work on Wednesdays. You learned a little something here on the Everyday AI Show. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. Also, make sure to join us tomorrow. This one's going to be a good one. We have Doug Leeds, the co-founder of Really Simple Licensing, or RSL, in the RSL Collective. And we're going to be talking about essentially RSL versus the AI scrape, and can large language model licensing save the open web? This is huge. You all are going to be hearing a lot about RSL in the near future. It's going to be one of those episodes that if you want to know about how can large language models get better, how can the data get better, but also how can publishers get paid, you're going to want to listen on Thursday to the conversation with Doug. So thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you for that one tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.